Hey everybody, welcome to Art with Kelly, which is significantly less awesome than Art with Allie, but I'm hoping that this video will help give a little bit of an idea of what we're doing. So we are going to be working with Wyeth on the 19th, and Wyeth is really famous for painting scenes from his own life that are really nostalgic. They evoke memory. He uses a really subdued and neutral color palette, and just really painted from what he saw. So one of the things that I actually really love about Wyeth is that he was homeschooled. So he was homeschooled and he started painting and was actually a pretty proficient painter before he could read. His dad was an artist and taught him everything he knew. Wyeth was homeschooled because he was a sickly child. So it's kind of a cool example too of how God can take things that are really hard and make really beautiful things out of them. So yeah, so that's kind of what we're going with. One of Wyeth's most famous paintings, maybe arguably his most famous, is Christina's World, the one with the girl in the grass staring longingly out into the distance. So we are going to be taking ideas from Christina's World and from the painting Master Bedroom, which is the one of the puppy on the bed, and combining those to make a little kind of idyllic scene here. We chose to go with a spring scene because our weather is so nice outside. And so it's kind of fun to start to think about spring. So the kids will have a figure in the foreground. I chose an animal based off of Master Bedroom and the fact that Wyeth loved animals. And then we kind of have the background and the field that mimics Christina's World. So as we're doing this, just continuing to remember the kids that we're trying to imitate these artists and learn from them. So this is really just an experiential project of using watercolor and learning how to become a better watercolor artist like Wyeth, and also getting to use a cool watercolor tool called Liquid Mask. So we're doing both of those things today. For you guys, I have like a little lesson plan that I have all typed up that has facts about Wyeth, step-by-step instructions, has very rudimentary step-by-step instructions drawn out, and then how to draw a simple animal as well. So I'm hoping that this will leave you guys pretty equipped for this project. So as always, it'll take a few minutes talking about the art, and then it's time to get to work. You will have paintbrushes, water, watercolor, and then a little bit of liquid mask in your room. When you are started, you'll start by drawing together. So for the older classes, so that would be like Charlene, which will be Marnie, and Amy and myself, you can give them a choice of what they want to do in the foreground. So if they wanted to do a person, like for example, Lucia, I did this with Lucia, and she chose to do a girl laying in the grass. So that's what she wanted to do. For the younger kids, I would definitely do the step-by-step of drawing an animal, which is also kind of fun to equip them of how to draw animals. So like this one, this is Rosie's little kitty right here that she drew. And then we have Sammy's sweet tiny little kitty. He's not quite done with his yet, but his is right there. For the older kids, so there's kind of two ways to do it. For the older kids, if you wanted to basically show them something like this. So show them something like you need a figure in the foreground and some buildings in the background, and then give them time to draw that before they paint. That would work. You could do it less step by step, less like hand holding. For the younger kids, I would walk with them and say, first, we're going to draw our figure in the foreground, and we're going to draw an animal. And then I give you step by step of how to draw an animal. So down to here. And then basically after this, you can just either add pointy ears or floppy ears or bunny ears or mouse ears and make it whatever animal you want. So hopefully there's a little bit of freedom in that. And then after they have their animal drawn, I would work with them and just step by step draw houses together. So that at the end or before you paint, you'll have just kind of a simple little scene like this, nothing too complicated. I tried really hard to make this something that's realistic to do in a half hour, so it won't eat into too much of your review time. So hopefully that will work. After you have this part done, you are going to start to paint your, After you have that done, your pencil done, then you're going to go on to your liquid mask. So your liquid masking fluid is this really cool plasticky stuff that will protect the paper underneath where you paint. So you can talk about it to the kids. It's like resist. So it will resist anything put on top of it, protecting the white paper underneath. For the older kids, they can actually put resist over their figure in the foreground. You have to put the resist pretty carefully in a nice thin layer over their figure, and that will protect it. So for the older kids, I would do that. And then you are also going to add little dots and flowers in the foreground. So you'll have this, and this liquid mask, I don't know if you can see, it does stick to your paintbrushes, so it needs to be washed out right away when you're done with it. But you just dip into the liquid mask, we'll have little cups of it for you, and you're just gonna paint it on really carefully, staying inside the lines of your figure. So you don't need a lot. Emphasize thin, 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 because we want it to dry. And this is for the older classes. Amanda and Anna Marie, I would not do this with your kids because I don't know that they have the dexterity to paint precisely inside the lines of their foreground figure. So I'm going to paint that in. So that's covered. And then you take the same paintbrush and you're just going to make little dots that are going to be like flowers. You can use your paintbrush to make little flower shapes. So I'm kind of making, the typical flower shape in here. And those are going to go in the grass, reminding them that as they go towards the background, it should definitely be more just like dots because those flowers are farther away. Flowers towards the front can be a little bit more distinct because they're closer to us. Okay, so I have some dots in there. Then you need to wash this out right away, like immediately. Get it into water and have a parent go scrub it out because otherwise it will stick in there and it just turns your brush into plastic basically. So make sure you get that done. I don't know if it will pick up on the camera, but I have these painted over. I have flowers and I have my main figure masked over. Again, younger classes don't mask over your main figure. Once that's done, you are going to start painting the upper part. So again, emphasizing that Wyeth uses subdued colors. We're going to be painting the sky in kind of a watery blue. So you'll pick up some blue paint and you'll use water to kind of spread it across your paper. Not painting over the barns, but painting around the barns as best you can. We want the sky to have different tones of blue. So some parts might have more water, some might have less water, but we really want to have a variation of blue, not to have just a solid blue color because the sky is rarely one solid blue. And the nice thing about watercolor is that you can really kind of move it around the way you want, especially if you have kind of some wet water on there and you put wet paint in there, it will move there. All right, so I'm gonna get that finished up painted. And then they'll go back in maybe with a smaller brush and you can paint your barns. Again, we're thinking more neutral and subdued colors. I would not put a red barn in there. I'm thinking like browns, whites, blacks, all those different colors. My example is pretty simple right now. Your kids might have more detailed ones. There we go. Okay, so I have mine painted in just like that. Once this is a little bit more dry, you can go back with a small paintbrush and you can kind of paint some of the details. I'll show you that in a moment, but we'll have that all painted. Once that is painted, you're gonna check to see how dry your bottom half is. Bottom half of your painting, that is. And my liquid mask is actually looking pretty good. So if you have a thin enough layer, it dries really fast, which is nice. I'm just gonna make sure it looks pretty good. So now, with the lower portion of your painting, this is kind of the fun part. So you are going to take a brush and you're going to paint some plain water onto your painting. This is called a wet on wet technique. And I'll show you for a little portion of mine here, even going over my main figure, wet on wet. So I have just plain water painted onto there. Then I'm going to take my, again, kind of subtle, subdued colors, nothing too vibrant. You can mix a little bit of black or brown with a green to make it a little bit more subdued. And then I'm going to paint that onto there, onto my paper. Ooh, and you can see, I'll show you in a second, that it is resisting. So we have those flowers popping up and they are resisting. It's not going to stay on my cat. Some of the paint will kind of hang out there, but it doesn't stay on there. So we'll resist. Anna Marie and Amanda Molstead, for your classes, they'll just paint around their main figure and that should go great. Once again, you want to make sure you're going to have some variation in the tones of your grass. You don't want to have just green grass because that's not realistic. And Wyeth really paid attention to detail. So we're adding in some different tones and shades to our grass to make it more visually realistic and interesting. Okay, so you would have this painted all the way across. I'm just gonna go really fast. And there we go. So you should have something, oh my goodness, something like this that is painted across on there like that. Lucia made the excellent observation that if you have a figure that has the resist on it, you might want to take off some of the paint that's just sitting on top of the resist, because sometimes that can like get blended into other parts, so take that off. All right, once you have this part painted and done, for the older kids, this is when I would go back and add the detail to the upper parts. So I would take a pretty dry brush and you can add in, with your dry brush, you can add in like the cross beams, you can add in windows, you can add in other details up here like this. And then once the bottom part is a little bit dry, you just take your finger and you start to rub, and I don't know if you can see, but the liquid mask comes off just like very plasticky. So it comes off like a, I don't know, it's almost honestly like sunburned skin, which sounds really gross, but there it is, it comes off. And that will leave a perfectly white main figure for them to paint. Sometimes a little bit of the paper comes off, that's totally fine. They'll just paint right over it. And then they can take, again, using more subdued, subtle colors. I'm still gonna use orange, but I'm gonna wash it out to make it a little bit less vibrant. I will get my main figure painted in. And then once I have my main figure painted in, you can go back once again with a drier small brush and you can add in some of those details. Or if there's no time for that, adding detail back in with a pencil at the end also works really well. Okay, so I have that all painted in, and I'm going to take a small dry brush and just kind of show you what I mean. I'm actually going to take some brown. So with my brown, I would maybe go back in and add some of those lines that I was missing. Almost just like using your paint as a Sharpie to outline and give definition on there. So using my Sharpie here, just really, really quickly, and I would finish the rest of it. Once you have all of this painted, I would actually set it to the side. So, and maybe save like 5 minutes at the end when the flowers are going to be really dry. And then at the end, you can rub off the liquid mask, and you can either leave the flowers like this on the field, just like that, or you can take a marker and just make like the yellow dot in the middle if you wanted to do that. So that would be a great way to do that. Or or a colored pencil, I guess, would work too. So I was thinking for the end, when the bottom part of the painting is really dry, that would be a great time to do that. So that's kind of our project for today. let me know if you have any questions. I'd be happy to help you think through anything. I'd be happy to give you anything pre-drawn that you need. And I'm excited. Thanks, guys.